We are back with Louisa, one of our junior consultants, and going to have a conversation around Plus Carbon and SECR reporting. So for those that don't know, Plus Carbon is our full carbon accountancy platform. But can you kind of explain what that means and who Plus Carbon is for?
Yeah, definitely. Happy to help. To sum up Plus Carbon, I'd essentially say we are a solution that helps people kind of measure, report and reduce their carbon emissions. So we can take people through the entire process from explaining kind of where to start, what data do you need, what even are greenhouse gas emissions and why are they important, and then taking you through to kind of providing you with, say, a full organisational footprint or whatever it is you'd like included in that. We'll work with the clients to kind of make sure it is everything they'd like included. And then once you've got a footprint, obviously such an important step of that is then looking at how to reduce it. And that's something we work with clients with as well when it comes to reduction planning and target setting. In terms of who Plus Carbon is for, I'd say it's kind of any business that might potentially not have the in-house capacity or knowledge or resources to calculate their own footprint, but is interested in gaining kind of credible carbon data, whether or not that's because of investor scrutiny or suppliers been asking for it or legal compliance. I think no matter your kind of motivation, we're here to help when it comes to anything emissions related, essentially.
I think that really special thing about Plus Carbon is, and you described it really well there, is helping people understand their data before and post. So it's not just about the measurement of it, because I think we've seen, and we've had clients come to us who've had years of carbon reporting, but don't actually know what it means or what to do with it. And that's been a really, really important part, is quality data in, so that you know where you stand as much as we can, because we know not everybody has it to begin with. But also the work that our team do around, okay, and now what does this mean and where can you go next?
Yeah, 100%. I think, and that's an area that often seems quite daunting when it comes to carbon emissions. I think as an idea, I think a lot of people find it quite intimidating. It seems quite technical and academic, and people often kind of steer clear from the nitty-gritty for that very reason. And that's kind of obviously why we're here to help and here to essentially make it understandable and easy. And I think, as you said, understanding not only why it's important, why even you need data on your business travel emissions and all these different kind of categories that you might be looking at, but also understanding those results is just as important. And I think there's a lot of ways that you could look at, even in-house, your own carbon footprint. But I think being able to fully understand what that means, and then, as you said, what to do next. How do we reduce that? How do we improve our data quality, as you also touched on? Because that's definitely a big area of focus with a lot of the companies we've worked with, where the starting point of their first year of emissions reporting, you might not instantly then launch into a reduction plan. You might launch into looking at data quality, and then potentially next year look at reduction.
And climate literacy is a really particular thing. There are a bevy of acronyms around it, but one that we are talking about a lot at the moment is SECR, because of a lot of our clients are coming up to reporting deadlines. Can you explain a little bit, what is SECR? It's specific to the UK, probably is a good starting point, but what it is and sort of who needs to be thinking about it at the moment.
A lot of clients often kind of saying that they hear mentions of these different regulations, and they often worry, kind of, should we be worried about this? Should we be doing this? And often from a FuturePlus side, those are questions that we get quite a lot as well when people are curious about the regulatory landscape that is ever changing. But SECR is Streamlined Energy and Carbon Reporting. It's essentially a UK regulation that requires businesses of a certain threshold, which I can touch on in a second, to report their energy use and carbon emissions in their annual reporting. So why that's so, I think, beneficial and important is because it brings that carbon element into your financial accounting. And I think that's where it should be. And I think it should be considered with as much importance and kind of attention as people pay to their accounts. And I think it's good that that's something that's beginning to be integrated and hopefully then extended around to smaller companies as they grow. In terms of who would be looking at SECR, obviously, as you mentioned, it's a UK regulation. So it would be UK businesses. And if someone's kind of umming and ahhing as to whether or not they're in scope, I'd recommend taking a look. The UK government has some really great details on the thresholds, but essentially there's 3 thresholds, and if you meet 2 or more, you're in scope. And it's basically if you've got over 250 employees, over £36 million annual turnover, or over £18 million balance sheet. Sounds like a lot to assess, but it could be something that's not too complicated to figure out if you're in scope. And then obviously from there, you can come speak to someone like Plus Carbon and we can help you figure out what to do next.
So for companies that are coming up to that limit, what would you recommend that they, or potentially about to hit SECR or any other sort of carbon reporting, what would you recommend for them to do?
Yeah, I often get this question where a business is, as you said, potentially approaching some of these thresholds, or they might already have over 250 employees, but their turnover is not quite at the threshold yet. And they're umming and ahhing as to kind of, should we get ahead of the curve and preempt that, or should we wait until we're finally required? And then it's often a bit more stressful, tighter deadlines, more particularly when it comes to data collection processes. A little bit more stressful. More of a slog. My recommendation, and I often tell this to essentially any organisation kind of nearing any of those thresholds really, is to start considering how you can get ahead, whether or not that's even just looking at your data collection processes or actually voluntarily SECR reporting. I think it's a really strong way of showing that you're still really interested in compliance, even though it's not an obligation for you yet. And I think that can really help an organisation stand out and mark you as a leader in your industry, where you're not voluntarily reporting something that you're not necessarily required to do, but you're doing it because you want to, and you're showing your commitment there.
And moving in the right direction.
100%. And I think SECR in general is a really good foundation for broader ESG compliance. And I think even if you're not there yet, it's fantastic to get started on that journey. And then also when you are in scope, easy peasy, you're already there, you already understand it. You might already have a year or 2 under your belt. And I think that's going to fortify your positioning there, how you communicate that. I think it will be beneficial all round, essentially.
And probably your data quality as well.
Yeah, data quality, as I said, is, I think, a buzzword of carbon reporting. We definitely say it a lot in the team, where data quality is almost as important as the emissions itself in some regards, because the quality of an emissions footprint is only really as good as the quality of your data when it comes to how accurate is it, have you had to estimate in any places. So I think with SECR reporting, I think the more you get comfortable, as you said, you'll have more efficient data collection processes. You'll know, oh, we did that last year. I remember who is responsible for that piece of data that I need, and it might just make the whole thing easier. And as I said, I think it's also great for kind of any stakeholder expectations to be showing that you're committed off your own back, essentially.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Louisa. And if you would like to find out any more about Plus Carbon or FuturePlus, you can head to future-plus.co.uk.